Welcome, friends! I'm so happy to have you here, checking out my tiny little channel. I've been really surprised by how much I've grown over the past 2 weeks. So if you'd like, take a moment to subscribe, because every time I see my subscriber count go up, I feel motivated to soldier on with more videos. It's nighttime here, and my kids are finally asleep. But before I can head to bed, I need to take you with me down this long, winding rabbit hole where we can dissect and discover more about the psychology behind being Anna Duggar. Shout out to Georgia!
Anna Renee Keller was born on June 23, 1988, to parents Mike and Suzette Keller. She was the couple's fifth child, and they went on to have 3 more children after Anna. The Kellers raised their children with strict rules and had weekly 15-minute meetings scheduled for each individual child to talk with his or her parents. Anna was said to be especially close to her younger sister, Susanna, as a child. In 1996, Mike, that's the father, left his job to minister full-time to inmates, and as Anna grew up, she often went with him to work with incarcerated young women. Along with her siblings, Anna was homeschooled and completed high school at the age of 16. After high school, Anna enrolled in an online Christian college program from which she received a degree in early childhood education. And I didn't know that about Anna. I haven't heard of it happening a lot among the Duggar girls, so apparently she did receive some kind of a degree from an online school. At the age of 19, Anna attended a journey to the heart with her sister Priscilla and considers it a life-changing event. Anna met Josh Duggar at an ATI or IBLP homeschooling convention in 2006. Reportedly, due to the Kellers' strict rules regarding feelings, Anna was not allowed to discuss her feelings for Josh with her siblings, but discuss them with her father. Shortly after meeting, the two entered a courtship. Their courtship rules were discussed on the 17 Kids and Counting episode, Duggar Dating Rules, and included no physical contact until engagement and no time alone as a couple until marriage. Anna had stated that she did not want to be engaged before her 20th birthday, therefore Josh waited until then to propose. He flew down to Florida to surprise her, showing up to Gator Landing in East Palatka, where she was having dinner with her parents, Mike and Suzette Keller. Originally, dinner was to be outside, but due to last-minute weather changes, the dinner and proposal were moved indoors. During the course of the meal, Josh showed up with balloons for Anna and subsequently asked her to marry him. Anna accepted. The proposal was featured on the 17 Kids and Counting episode, Josh Gets Engaged. So everything was done on the show. So here's my 2 cents about the situation. I believe that Anna was chosen specifically for Josh, due to her meek nature and the fact that she came from a family who basically lived in what most would call poverty. It didn't hurt that the Kellers were so interested in prison ministry. They seemed to have a true heart for forgiveness and redemption. I believe Anna was groomed to be the perfect wife for Josh, to be overly understanding. It wouldn't surprise me if she already knew and had help from the church with overseeing Josh's pee addiction almost from the start. In the trial, it came out that Anna and Josh actually started using the pee blocking applications on their computer prior to the Ashley Madison scandal coming out. So it's likely that before any news broke to the public, Anna was aware something was going on with her husband and pee. I believe she received ongoing counseling and support from the church to stay with her husband, accept him, serve him, and forgive him over and over again. I believe Anna was raised to blame herself. She should do more, be more, and stretch herself even more thin to serve every need and desire of Josh. And if he falls, she falls. If Josh loses his place in the church and in the eyes of God, no more teaching church sermons for Anna. No more new large homes. No more being the wife of a well-known up-and-coming politician. This is something I don't hear talked about very often, but I think about it a lot. As bad as I feel for Anna, I have to be honest with you. I believe a part of what keeps Anna with the Duggars is the money, the privilege, the protection, the status. She didn't get any of that growing up. And to be honest, I totally understand. If you are a person who knows what it's like to go hungry as a child or be made fun of because you're dirty and wear clothes from the local Goodwill, maybe you can understand too. I can tell you, once you live like that, having money can become a desperate need in your life. And Anna Duggar's gotten a taste of what it feels like to have money and status now. And I can't help but wonder if she hasn't decided it's more important to give all of her kids some of that than to hold their father responsible for the horrible choices he's made. So Anna is always a bit of a double-edged sword for me, and always will be. It's true. We've all heard there was a time when one of her siblings offered to take care of her and her kids if she left Josh. But we have to be honest with ourselves. What does that really mean? How would a brother she grew up with in poverty, who has a family of his own and no known substantial income, really be able to financially and emotionally care for her and her kids? Maybe he would do all he could to get her set up, get her on welfare, and help out where he can. But ultimately, she would need to figure out her own life. And I think that would be absolutely terrifying for someone like Anna Duggar. Now I want to talk about what does it mean to be fully indoctrinated into the IBLP, as I believe Anna likely has been since she was very young. The IBLP was founded by Bill Gothard in 1961. To give you an idea of what we're dealing with here, I'm going to run through some items I found through my initial research into the IBLP's Wisdom booklets. These booklets are disseminated to everyone in the church, and they carve out the rules for which to live your life by. I found many of them quite disturbing. Keep in mind, these are likely rules Anna's been completely indoctrinated with since she was a young child. Okay, so first, the IBLP teaches that unborn babies can comprehend scripture in utero, so you should start indoctrinating them early. They believe that evil forces, which according to Gothard include Cabbage Patch dolls, will frighten unborn children, who he claims will refuse to emerge from the room if evil forces are present where a woman is laboring. So he's really committed to following science here, right? The IBLP teaches that all parents must homeschool their children under all circumstances. Bill Gothard teaches that formal education is a trap and that even doctors don't need to go to medical school. IBLP teaches that couples may not have S during a woman's cycle or for 7 days after, on a Saturday night, for 40 days after the birth of a son, or for 80 days after the birth of a daughter. IBLP all but forbids adoption because Mr. Gothard believes that individuals genetically inherit the sinfulness of their ancestors. The IBLP teaches that wives must be totally subservient to their husbands, that they must obey them at all times. Likewise, children are taught that they must obey their parents unquestioningly. Gothard encouraged IBLP parents to train their children much like dogs. Gothard also encouraged corporal punishment. IBLP teaches that women and children must always and instantly obey their headships, which is their husband or their father, and that they will be punished if they fail to do so. Many followers have reported this is what keeps women and children in a constant state of fear. In addition, IBLP teaches that all marriages must be arranged by the fathers of their respective families, and that couples must maintain total chastity before marriage. They teach that a couple should have as many children as possible and that STIs are punishments for immorality. IBLP teaches that women should continue giving birth to children even if it might kill them. He specifically cites a historical woman with over 24 children as an example for IBLP mothers of what's possible. Gothard openly encourages people to have children they cannot afford. He also claims that childbirth and pregnancy will cure breast cancer. In addition, he says people should ignore advice from doctors or midwives to stop having children for medical reasons. He claims that the use of epidurals will cause mental impairments in children. IBLP also teaches that a female infant can cause a man to have bad thoughts. Bill Gothard teaches that men and boys cannot change diapers because it could lead to problems, and that mothers are at fault if anything happens, because mothers are responsible for ensuring their children will dress modestly. Okay, there's a lot more in the wisdom booklets that can be somewhat shocking, but for now, this is all I'm going to share. Can you imagine being raised in a household which believed all of these things as absolute truth? Never being exposed to the outside world, never getting a look at other opinions, or even being educated in a normal system where you would have freedom to read about other ideas? This is the basis of Anna Duggar's entire life. It's like recently when Anna attended Josh's CP trial, and some suggested she would finally see the light and possibly leave Josh. I believe Anna was likely given a sedative and told not to pay attention to things said at trial because it's just evil working against her family. Since Anna was married to Josh Duggar, she has pretty much given birth to a child about every 2 years. And on April 23, 2021, she announced via Instagram that she was expecting her 7th child, and the child was a girl. On Thursday, April 29, 2021, Josh was arrested by U.S. Marshals and taken into custody. He was arraigned the following day, where he was formally charged with 2 counts relating to CSAM. And on May 5, 2021, after a bond hearing, he was released into the care of the Reibers. He was not allowed to live with Anna and was only allowed visitation with his children if Anna was present to supervise. There are a lot of rumors that Anna spent pretty much her entire time with Josh at the Reibers during the trial. On Thursday, December 9th, 2021, Josh was found guilty on 2 counts relating to CSAM and was immediately handcuffed and taken into custody by U.S. Marshals. Insiders say Anna believes that the Biden administration or some other liberal political organization has conspired against Josh and is now framing her husband in a desperate attempt to discredit the entire Duggar family. Why anyone at the top levels of government would put in so much effort for someone like Josh Duggar is anyone's guess. But it doesn't really matter. It's sad, but maybe there's really nothing that could change Anna's outlook on Josh. So here I would like to read the account of a woman who grew up in a very similar situation as Anna Duggar within the IBLP. Her account was once featured in Us Weekly. In 1990, Marcella Metlich was pulled out of private school after her parents met an IBLP-affiliated American missionary family who got them interested in homeschooling. My parents were the first Mexican homeschooling family in Mexico, she told In Touch Weekly in her email. Her parents, both medical doctors, thought homeschooling was a way to provide a better education and be able to travel more. But once they joined ATI officially, everything changed. Rather than wanting a better education, it all shifted to being sheltered from this world, she said. Isolation was just the first effect of ATI and the IBLP, and it quickly spiraled from there. Every ATI follower had to endure a long list of strict rules enforced by their parents, and Marcella's story was no different. She wasn't allowed to watch TV, socialize with anyone outside the home or church, and had a strict dress code. Growing up, Marcella had to deal with many damaging things that were taught to her through ATI. One of them was the umbrella of protection, which claimed parents had complete authority over their children. But for Marcella, having to blindly follow her mother's orders, who she described as a narcissist, led to her feeling uncertain about her own actions. I had such a strong fear of doing something that my parents did not wish me to do, she said. I lived always asking myself and reevaluating everything I did all my life. This blind obedience led to a tragic consequence. 10 years after she left ATI, she gave birth to a baby girl. While taking care of the newborn, she listened to her mother's unhelpful advice on how to take care of the infant, from ignoring the baby for a whole night because she'd grow up to be uncontrollable and disobedient, to not using a pacifier because she would be prone to addictions. I did everything you're not supposed to do, but I followed my mother's wishes and I did it. When my daughter died, my world tumbled over. She was my only girl. It was through this terrible experience that Marcella realized how harmful ATI can be. That is the most damaging idea, she said, that your parents are somehow God on this earth and that God will back up everything they say just because they're your parents, and if you dare to do something different, all kinds of evil will fall on you. After leaving ATI, she continued to have nightmares about her time there. When Marcella was 25, she got married and left ATI for good after a nightmarish courtship process. I realized that was not what I wanted for my children, she said. But after leaving, she continued feeling shame and guilt for years, leading her to have ongoing nightmares about her mother and everything she had endured. Many times, I had my legs purple from spankings, all the way from my waist to behind my knees, because of a misunderstood answer, such as, "When will you finish cleaning the drapes?" and me answering, "I don't know." However, the hardest part about adjusting after ATI was the realization that her whole belief system just wasn't true. I had always believed my life would be good because I had done everything right, she said. I was extremely careful to do everything as I was supposed to do, tithing my time to God, reading the Bible and praying, meditating, preaching, volunteering in hospitals, having an orphanage, not watching TV, reading worldly books or hearing wrong music, dressing super modest, and the longest set of family rules, which I thought of as God's rules. Although these days Marcella is doing much better, she still wishes there was more awareness over the suffering of kids in ATI. I just wish someone from the outside world would have seen what we endured and would have told us children that it wasn't normal, she said. It was abuse.
In my video about Josh Duggar, I talked about how I really and truly believe that Anna Duggar is living in like a hell on earth. She is in a very difficult situation where she has 7 children with a man who I believe she truly thinks she loves. She's very attached to him. He's like a leader to her, as ATI kind of tells them their husbands should be. I believe she thinks she's deeply in love with him. He's quote unquote the love of her life. And it's kind of like a living hell for Anna. She's been separated from him. He has participated in all these terrible behaviors, from cheating to looking at CP online, and yet she is still holding herself responsible to be there for him and support him.
As a final thought on Anna, I'd like to share the way I view the prison that Anna is stuck in. Close your eyes and imagine. You grew up living on an island, and everyone on the island has passed down through the generations that there's no life that exists outside of the island. If you leave the island, you will drown. You've been told that everyone who's tried to leave died a terrible death. Now things are starting to get bad on the island. The food is scarce, families are fighting and hurting each other, but every time you think of leaving, you stare out at the deep blue water and remember all the warnings you've been told over and over again. You look around and you realize you have 7 small children. You alone are responsible for their lives. Maybe you could swim, but how would you carry all 7 of these wonderful souls on your back? What if one falls off? And what if everyone is right? What if there's only death and drowning and terrible things once you leave the island? Maybe you'd think, I'd rather stay on the island and just die around the people I love. The evil I know is less scary than the chance I'd be taking if I left.